Good morning, everybody, and thanks for taking the time to listen to me this morning. I hope that you're going to find some value in what I have to say this morning, and that we can potentially share some ideas going forward. But I guess that a lot of what I'm going to say to you guys isn't necessarily new information, but maybe it's going to give you another perspective on programs that you're doing, and things that you're applying, and just maybe think of things from a slightly different angle. So a lot of what is to come is based very much on science, okay? And I know Todd earlier spoke about that we're going to match the science and the art, and that's absolutely true. So, you know, it's important to understand what scientific methods we can actually apply when you're designing programs, but then your challenge as a coach is to match those artistic sort of and relationship-based principles within your program. So when I say science, I mean science that exists from a Western modernity perspective, not a fees must fall or science must fall type of thing. So a lot of this is not African science, as it were, it's proper science. Right. I must also confess that it was quite difficult to get this talk to fit into 45 minutes or an hour, just because the content is sort of vast. And so I've done my best to streamline what the different topics are, and hopefully it will make sense as we go through. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have, but if we can preferably leave that to the end of the presentation, that would be appreciated. Okay, so speed development. Right now, sometimes I get labeled as a speed coach, but all of you are speed coaches, because at the end of the day, it's about getting to the finish line as fast as possible. So whether you're swimming a 50 or a 1500, you've got to do that race as quickly as possible. It's about getting the PBs and the medals and so on, and that really comes down to speed. So there isn't really a difference between speed development and holistic performance enhancement. It's one and the same. Now I think athletes and coaches and parents tend to think of speed development as a technique that they can apply, or some programs that they can use. As Grant mentioned earlier about Todd giving you guys a blueprint, that's very much what this is about. So elements of this is true, but the human body is a very complex system. Okay, so we really need to think of speed development holistically in the same way. So if you speak to any top athlete or coach, they'll tell you about the commitment and sacrifice that was made to get to the top. Okay? And therefore there's no quick fix. It takes a holistic, well-constructed program for you to produce the results. We are all part of the same cellular system, where everything is linked. Okay? The body and the mind are systemic. They're part of the same cellular system. So we need to think of performance enhancement or speed development in the same sort of way. Now, the main thing that I want to focus and emphasize right now is that speed is a result. It's not an input. Okay? It's the result that you get from the process. And it's not something that you can do instead of. There's no shortcuts. Right? The main focus today will, however, be on two sort of coachable programs, and I'll get a bit into that a little bit later on. And the one is the metabolic conversion system, which I'll speak about in a second, and the second one is the muscle or the neuromuscular system. So if we take a step back for a second, okay, and we want to define the sport of competitive swimming, and this is really just a definition that I made up. Is doing some research and trying to find how to define competitive swimming was actually more difficult than I thought. But we can define the sport of swimming as the sport in which a swimmer must swim and complete a finite race distance as quickly as possible within the rules of the stroke. So that leaves us with four basic elements: distance, time, intensity, and mechanics. Alright, so to jump into the next slide, just a very brief introduction into metabolic conversion systems. And when I say metabolic conversion systems, I'm speaking specifically about how we convert convert energy in the form of food into usable energy for activity, for sport and for exercise and so on. And that typically comes down to your aerobic and your anaerobic systems, which all of you have an idea of. Okay? But when it comes down to understanding exercise and sport, it comes down to time, and we can say that time is also related to distance as well as intensity. Right? So basically, as an activity or race or training session increases in duration or time, the less intense it will become. Alright, so when I mean intense, I just mean that you're not able to hold an absolute top-end velocity while you're swimming. Although we would love to be able to hold 100 meter speed for 1500 meters, that's just not ever going to happen. So that's what I mean by as time and distance increases, intensity is going to drop. Now the two main things, and that's what this talk mainly is about, that are determined by time and intensity are, the first thing that happens is your muscle fiber recruitment. We'll get into the types in a second, but we've basically got fast twitch muscle fibers and slow twitch muscle fibers. So that's the first thing that happens. And then secondly is how those muscle fibers are fueled so that they can partake in a given activity that you're about to do. So just to recap that, the shorter, more intense an activity is going to be, the more we will rely on fast twitch muscle fibers, and they'll be fueled more anaerobically. And in turn, the longer a distance becomes, the more we're going to be using slower twitch fibers, and they're going to be fueled more aerobically. Now that's pretty obvious to, I think, most of you sitting here today. Okay, so just to expand on this slide, what we can start to do, if we draw comparisons as we said, so if we're going from left to right, on the left-hand side we've got longer distances and longer times, and then as we move across through the various race distances, we end up increasing in the intensity, and time is gonna drop as well. So we said that the first thing that's going to happen is muscle fiber recruitment. So what kind of muscle fibers is your body going to use in that given activity? So for example, on a 200, you'd be using a combination of type 2B, type 2A fibers, and even type 1 fibers. We'll get into that a little bit more just now, so don't stress too much about that. The main thing that we can use to determine muscle fiber recruitment is stroke rate. So stroke rate, how many strokes are you taking, or how fast are you able to take strokes in a given distance to swim that race? And then for the metabolic conversion system, typically we're going to be using more heart rate. So what you'd see here is that you can start linking things. As there's a rise in stroke rate, so too there would be a rise then in heart rate. Okay, we'll get onto that in more detail later on, as I've said. All right, so before we speak about speed, let's consider what would be some of the limiting factors. What would be some of the things that would prevent us from swimming faster? And essentially, in a nutshell, there's a sort of a sliding scale as to what the major fatigue mechanism would be. And that's very much related to, again, distance, time, and intensity, and the way the metabolic conversion systems are used. But in a nutshell, just to sum it up quickly, one or two major fatigue mechanisms is going to kick in when you're swimming a given race, whether it's a 50 or let's say 100 to a 1500. And like I said, it's a combination or a sliding scale of a ratio of this to that. It's not really one or the other. But the first major thing would be a depletion of a fuel source. So how your muscles are being fueled through the combination of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats that we've got stored up in our muscles and in our blood. And the longer the race becomes, or the longer the training session becomes, the more we're going to start shifting onto depletion of the fuel source. So that's something to bear in mind. The lower the intensity, the more we are going to be kind of limited by or governed by a buildup of byproducts. Now in the past, we used to consider that lactate or lactic acid itself was the bad guy. But now recent research has started to show that lactate itself is not necessarily the problem. It's the things that are associated with lactate. So for instance, a rise in hydrogen ions and phosphagens that alter the chemical state of the internal environment, which negatively impacts the way we perform. Lactate itself, for that matter, can actually be converted back into usable energy. Okay, so the second limiting factor, and that's also very much directly related to time, distance, and intensity, is what I call hydrodynamic forces. Again, just to sum this up very, very quickly, the longer the race, the more we are going to be reliant on creating a more efficient stroke. So the need for optimal proficiency in our strokes. And the shorter the race, the more we're going to be focused on creating maximal power output, maximal speed. Now again, and this is the point I want to just quickly emphasize right now, nothing going forward in what I'm going to say today is one or the other. It's not that you're going to do this and not that. You've got to try and find that balance in the different dynamics to meet the perfect scenario for your swimmer and for the race that they're going to be swimming. Okay. Now the third limiting factor, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this, because there are experts that are going to be talking about this later on, and that really comes down to the way we either consciously or subconsciously govern information within the central nervous system, the nervous system. So the bottom line, and Todd and Grant have spoken about this, the bottom line is, as a coach, you can have the best programs in the world, but if the swimmer isn't sort of mentally there, you're going to have no chance. So that's actually scientifically and biologically important to understand, that we've got to link the mind and the body into our program. So just quickly, the nervous system, through either conscious or subconscious actions, the nervous system perceives and responds to events in the internal and external environment. So receptors that are capable of sensing touch, pain, temperature, and chemical stimuli send information to the central nervous system, which then responds through either voluntary movement or through a change in the rate of hormones that are being released from the endocrine system. We're not going to go too much into the endocrine system because that's going to be a talk on its own. There's obviously going to be more limiting factors to think about when designing programs, but the three that I've just mentioned are the ones that are pretty much the main ones. Okay. Now, I don't want to make this too scientific and take you back to your high school biology days, but it's important to understand that there are some scientific things that we do need to pay attention to. Now, just quickly, right, I want to make a statement. Exercise makes you fit, and being fit makes you faster. Kind of what a lot of us do, right? Sort of knowing you or unknowing you. And yes, it is true, but it's not quite as simple as that. So just to focus that statement a little bit, it all comes down to your body's capacity to work or exercise, right? So the major factor that determines this is a little thing that is found in most cells called the mitochondria. Now, mitochondria are small structures, as I said, that are found in most cells, and they are responsible for transforming energy from food into usable energy for exercise and for sport. Exercise increases the number of mitochondria in your muscle cells. So the more you train, the more you're actually going to gain an increase in the number of mitochondria that are present in your cells. Thus, the more capacity that you will have to be able to swim further, faster, longer. Okay. So without delving too much into cellular biology, let's just bear in mind that mitochondria are important in playing a role with regards to that. Okay, so understanding speed, right? Now, based on the definition of swimming and some of the previous slides that we've just gone through, we can essentially understand or determine that there are two modes or two types of speed, for lack of a better word. Absolute speed, okay, that's about being faster than you were before. So it's really a case of overcoming physical, and when I say physical, I mean more from a physics perspective, limitations through creating maximum force and minimizing resistance, right? And that's where things like stroke rate and stroke count go into account. The The second kind of speed is about holding speed, so being faster for longer, so for the duration of the race. And that's more a case of overcoming physiological limitations through, as we said, energy conversion, muscle fiber recruitment, the hormones, motor neural pathways, and so on. It's about using energy and it's about improving energy availability and then utilizing it in the right way. And then, as we said as well, being able to tolerate the buildup of byproducts. Okay, so when to apply what? Now, the great Bob Bowman, who I'm sure I don't need to tell you who he is, but he's Michael Phelps' coach, speaks of capacity and utilization. And essentially what he means by that is it's about creating a capacity for something and then being able to utilize it in the best possible way that you can to get the best possible results. And I think, and this is what Grant and Todd have mentioned as well, is that I think this is often where we go wrong as coaches, is in the application of well-planned scientific methods that incorporate a broad spectrum of coaching principles and taking into account the individual differences of the athletes. Now, I think it's really important to understand that there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place for the capacity, and there's a time and a place for the utilization. When do we sacrifice short-term gains in building capacity? And when do we want to get fast right now? Utilization. I'm not here to tell you how to design your program. That's what Todd said and Grant said. The beauty of this thing is that you've got to be able to take all the ingredients and design your program the best way that you can. But I do think that it's important to understand that we need to learn when to apply what. Okay. What Grant and Todd specifically spoke about as well is getting the buy-in of our swimmers and of our parents. So, not everybody wants to do 2400, but it's probably going to be good for you at a certain point in your career. That's sort of, again, what we need to encourage is that education, not just of coaches, not just of parents, but of swimmers as well. All right, so just to quickly get into absolute speed. So, I think that, remember what we said, absolute speed comes down more to physics. Okay? So, we need to understand that sound mechanics, proper technique, that's pretty much the foundation for being fast. Whether it's in absolute speed or in holding speed. Mechanics, and technique. We need to emphasize that. Right? So, that's things like your streamlines and stuff that everybody's pretty much doing. But I do think that we need to prioritize on that and really, really get good at that. The second thing is force production. So the ability to induce a muscular force that creates a force that is greater to overcome the resistance of the water. Right? So this typically applies to stroke count. The more force a swimmer can produce, the fewer strokes they're going to take per given lap, and the more efficient they're going to be in the long run. Okay, more force means being stronger. Another thing linked to force production is the role that the legs play. Okay, the role that the legs play in creating a stronger kick to add to propulsion. The stronger your kick is, the fewer strokes you're going to have to take per given leg, and the more you are going to be efficient with your stroke as well. The third thing then is speed of movement, and this typically refers to stroke rate, how quickly you can get your arms to move and your legs to move through a race. Interestingly enough, and we'll speak a little bit more about stroke rate just now, stroke rate I find, having coached a lot of senior swimmers that come to me at a sort of later age in their careers, stroke rate is exceptionally hard to change when they get older. And I think it's largely due to genetics, the predisposition of muscle fiber types, and secondly, that we tend to focus a lot on distance per stroke at junior level. And I'm not saying that's wrong. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail just now. But if we want to be faster, we've got to be able to move our arms and our legs faster. It's pretty much simple physics. So So I think that we need to find ways of incorporating stroke rate better into youth programs. So just to recap that, absolute speed is about physics. So you know, poor old Isaac Newton that was sitting under a tree after doing lots of 25s, when an apple fell on his head, and boom, just like that, he invented, according to some UCT students, he invented gravity. Right, so the second speed focus then would be holding speed. As you said, holding speed is much more of a physiological challenge. You can have amazing metrics when applying the speed principle, but if you can't hold it for the duration of the race, you're in big trouble. Now, I think sort of by default, or rightly or wrongly, most programs fall into this category. Okay. It's about, like we said earlier, being fitter. Okay, you know, being able to swim longer and further. And that's not wrong, because we've said there's a time and a place for everything. But we need to understand that there is a second option, or there are more things that we can do. Now, just to explain this diagram very briefly. If you look at the triangle behind the blocks, the goal of training is to make that triangle as big and as broad and as fat and as long as possible, if we want to use a graphic representation or example. So we spoke about building endurance and capacity at this end. And that's what we said, it's about creating more mitochondria, capillarization, so your body, through that kind of training, is going to produce more blood vessels to transport oxygen and blood through the body. The bigger this becomes, the more it starts pushing outwards on the base of the triangle. And in theory, the more this grows, the more it's going to push this one forward. The more we can get this one to grow, the more it's going to push that one forward, and so on and so on and so on. So we spoke about the metabolic conversion systems being aerobic and anaerobic. And we said that we want to create a capacity first, and then afterwards utilize it. I've substituted the word utilization for power, and I've used the word utilization in the bottom there. And I'll explain that in a second. We said then the second half is coming down more to anaerobic power, and that's about creating more energy available and being able to swim faster for longer. Right at the end, it's increasing the amount of total energy available anaerobically and improving muscle fiber recruitment. So if I want to just quickly use an example, if we wanted to inflate a balloon, we want to get that balloon to be as big as possible before it bursts and before it loses its elasticity. And that's these four. That's filling the balloon up. Race-specific utilization, that's when we race. Through a combination of the stuff that we've trained, we want to be able to utilize that and swim the best race that we can swim. So back to the balloon. Race-specific utilization is manipulating that balloon by squeezing it or manipulating the head that the air rushes out of that balloon as quickly as possible. So again, just a little simple explanation of what we are looking for here. When to apply what? Now, Abraham Maslow is the same guy that developed Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure by now you've read the little quote that he made there. I think often we, and this is a very general statement to make, and it is a bit of an opinion, because I know that in South Africa we've got to balance a lot of other dynamics when it comes to coaching, like collecting fees, marketing, renting lanes, whatever the case is. So our attention isn't solely based on the athletes. And I think that slide speaks pretty much for itself. So this is going to lead us then into the next slide. I typically see that there are three types of swimmers. And again, this is not about stereotyping anybody. and it's not about limiting anybody. It's merely a tool for us to understand how to apply different programs for what kind of swimmers. So the three kinds that I think you get, and of course there's going to be overlap. Okay, so you're not going to be only present in one box. You are going to find guys that have attributes of all. When you win the lottery, you've got a guy that's right in the middle there. He's got everything. And they do come, but like Todd said, prepare yourself for when they do come, and then you know how to use your knowledge and your programs to get the best out of it. So quickly, the athlete. I think you get two kinds of athletes. You get the speed and power athlete, and then you get the endurance-based athlete. The speed athletes tend to be very explosive, very dynamic. They can naturally get their stroke rates up. They're just powerful people. And then the endurance-based athletes tend to be more fatigue resistant, and they often have a very high natural VO2 max. The speed athletes fatigue very, very, very easily. They kind of have all or nothing training days. They're very unpredictable. So some days they're amazing and they can do the most amazing sets in the world. Other days they can hardly even finish the warm-up. And I'm sure you guys have some of them, you know what I'm talking about. The endurance athletes don't necessarily respond very well to power-only based activities. They tend to be susceptible to getting muscle soreness and fatigue through overstimulus of the power-based stuff. The worker, now I mean this with all due respect, and I'm sure that you guys will agree with me, the workers kind of, what they lack in physical ability and natural talent, they make up for in work ethic and commitment and discipline and these sorts of things. Unfortunately, they tend to respond slightly slower to training stimuli. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. The natural talent, these are the guys that respond very quickly and very dramatically to a training stimulus. They often have a very natural inclination or feel for whatever activity they're doing. They often have attributes or characteristics of both power athletes and endurance-based athletes. Now the problem with the naturals is that they can tend to take things for granted. They tend to become a little bit arrogant often because they're just so used to winning. So that's something important to bear in mind. So I'm not going to go too much into the actual specific programming of what would go into writing programs for each of these different kinds of swimmers. Because that's the challenge of the coaches. But just to sum it up very, very quickly, athletes should be unleashed. Just let them go. They can have good days and they can have bad days. So unleash the athlete. Workers should be appreciated and respected. Okay? So if you put together a plan that's taking into account their race-specific protocols, their individual differences, and you put a plan together, they will get better. And they do need to be respected and appreciated because they are going to give you the most real feedback about your program. They are the ones that lack a little bit of talent. I mean that with all due respect. So if you're a good coach, the workers are going to give you real feedback on your program. One, because they're always there, and if they're not getting better, then maybe there's another problem. Okay, cool. Okay, so we spoke earlier about coachable systems. And the first one we're going to quickly mention is the metabolic coaching, metabolic conditioning systems. We said that's the anaerobic and the aerobic. The muscular conditioning, get into that now. And then some other coachable systems that we can coach or teach to create better swimmers and athletes are mental conditioning. Now we've got some very good talkers today and tomorrow that are going to be talking specifically on that. The technical skills, all right, and then management. So things like diet, recovery, race planning, all of these sorts of things. All right, so the first coachable system that we're going to speak about is metabolic conditioning. So as I mentioned earlier, the body is a very complex system. Right? And all things work, they rarely work independently of each other. So of course there's going to be crossover between metabolic conditioning and muscular conditioning when we're training them. But I think it's important to understand that there are times when we're going to focus on one and times when we're going to focus on the other. So I think most programs tend to operate within metabolic conditioning zones. Either rightly or wrongly, as we've said, the mindset, like we mentioned, is the more you do, the better you will become, to be as fit as possible. So there's nothing wrong with that. We have to do that. You've got to make your cup, as Bob Bowman said, you've got to make your capacity as big as possible. I absolutely 100% agree with that. I coach senior level sprinters, but if they don't have a capacity, there's also very little you can do with them. So there's a time and a place for this. So it's about converting the energy substrates to carbohydrates, proteins, and fats through the conversion systems of aerobic and anaerobic, and then to have usable energy in the form of the adenosine triphosphate. So it's very closely related to muscular conditioning, but it has different measurement criteria and input criteria. So for instance, when we're thinking about working in the metabolic coaching system, we are going to be using things more like heart rate, either through taking it on your neck, pulse, or with monitors. Lactate, you need a little bit of equipment for that, and then VO2 max and other lab testing. Those are sort of the input measurement criteria that we're going to use to determine these things. Okay, and typically this refers more, not exclusively, but it's going to help more in building up your holding speed. Alright, so a little bit of technical stuff, and coaches tend to have slightly different takes on this, but I think across the board, most of you are working with very similar zones when it comes to metabolic conditioning. And essentially what I see is that there's really 6 kinds of zones, some having some subzones. And they are all very much related to time and intensity. So again, on this end would be low intensity, and on that extreme would be a high intensity. So linked to that then, we would see a rise in heart rate, a rise in lactate, respiration, but also there would be, and this is a little bit more muscular conditioning based, there would be a rise in stroke rate. Now just to quickly go through, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you're all very up to date for this, I think. Zone 1 is about recovery and development, so it's about improving the ability to produce energy without depletion of fuel stores, and for recovery and regeneration. Your aerobic overload, so it's about optimizing the respiratory and cardiovascular systems. Aerobic limit, zone 3, so that's typically about developing aerobic power through your first ventilatory threshold, which is just a scientific term, and then into the anaerobic shift. So the purple zones are around your thresholds, the crossover from aerobic to anaerobic. So they're kind of a little bit murky, not always 100% sure where we are. And then the green zone is your lactate zones. Now that's about creating maximal oxygen uptake and to produce maximal anaerobic energy. Zone 2, 3, 4, and 5 are really about increasing your holding speed. Zone 6 is about absolute speed. It's said to be an alactate zone, so it doesn't produce lactic acid because although the intensity is exceptionally high, you're not going to be in that energy system for longer than 10, 12, 15 seconds before moving into the green zone. So it's about maximum velocity overloads, and they're typically then done on like 10, 15, 20 meter types of repeats. So from experience, I think most programs sort of operate purple and green. And this is, yeah, but I think we passed the point that we were in the 90s and the 80s where it's really about swimming as far as you can, as fast as you can. You can only train as hard as you can recover. So if you're spending all your time in purple and green, you're going to find it very difficult to recover properly, and that's going to lead to long-term overuse injuries and burnout, things like that. The body can't really deal with more than a maximum of about 2 hours per week of purple and green stuff. So that's not to say you shouldn't do purple and green stuff. You should do it. You should do it properly. But you should be very careful of going into it every single day, as we said, because of recovery and so on. A good guide would be to give yourself about 48 hours, even possibly 72 hours of the difficult metabolic conditioning work for recovery. All right, but remember that not all anaerobic work is risky. That red zone at the end, if done properly, and that's where we operate a lot in, is a less risky thing. And when I say risky, I mean because of things like overtraining and injuries coming. The max speed stuff, as we said, is maximum velocity overloads, where we are really not going to load the body with repeats longer than 10 to 15 seconds. And you need to govern that properly, because the minute you start creeping over that, you start going into the green. And that's when you start to find a little bit of risk coming in. Okay, so muscular condition. That's the second coachable system that we're talking about. Right, so again, very closely linked to metabolic conditioning, but it's got a slightly different measurement criteria. So we're going to use stroke rate, we're going to use stroke count. Those of you that are lucky enough to have power racks, I don't think anybody here is, maybe we're using things like power racks to determine force and so on, and then do gym work. Right, so whatever gym work is happening, you can actually track that through lifting heavier weights, for example. It's about conditioning of the neuromuscular system, so the neural pathways that lead to the muscle fibers as well as the muscle fibers themselves. And as we said, it contributes mainly to absolute speed. So right in the beginning, we said that there are two basic types of fibers. One has got two subcategories. We've got the slow twitch fibers, and then we've got the fast twitch fibers on the right. Now, just to quickly read through that with you, the type 1, they should not be called slow twitch fibers, they should be called slower twitch fibers, because they can operate at a contraction rate of between 40 and 90 contractions per millisecond. That's not slow. Okay? They're very resistant to fatigue, so they don't get tired very quickly. They're used mainly for aerobic. They're not great at producing force. Their mitochondrial density is high. Their capillary density is high. Their oxidative capacity, so that means that it operates a lot in the aerobic system, is high. The glycolytic capacity, which means glycolytic capacity that it operates more in the anaerobic systems. Okay, there we low. And the major fuel source there are triglycerides, which to sum it up are fat. The type 2A fibers, now they are intermediate fibers. They can operate at a contraction rate of between 90 and 140 contractions per millisecond. More for long-term anaerobic activity, so in swimming things like hundreds to 400s even. And these days the way 800s are going, I think even that's becoming more anaerobic. Intermediate in terms of capillary density, as well as that they're resistant to fatigue. Their major fuel source is phosphocreatine and glycogen. So phosphocreatine and then glycogen, which is basically a type of carbohydrate that's stored in the muscles and blood. Type 2B, they are very fast twitch fibers, and they also operate at a rate of between 90 and 140 contractions per millisecond, probably closer though to 140. Unfortunately, they are very they're very fatigue prone, so they're going to get tired quite quickly. Used for your short-term anaerobic activities, 25 meters, dives up to 50 meters, throwing, jumping. They are able to produce a lot of force. So that's why they're used in these short-term explosive intense activities. Low capillary density, very high glycolytic capacity, because that operates very much within the anaerobic system. And they're also using phosphocreatine and glycogen as a major fuel source. take that back quickly. Sorry. So, the muscle fiber types relate almost directly to stroke rate. Why? Okay. So the distribution of muscle fiber types is genetic. We mentioned that earlier. So you're born with a certain amount or certain ratio of slow to fast. So blame your parents for that. You can't really alter that, but through training, either knowingly or unknowingly, okay, so sometimes without knowing we have an effect, we can change the way that the type 2, the intermediate fibers, react, the properties that they display. So through the way of training, we can make them take on more of a slow twitch way of functioning or a fast twitch way of functioning. So with this contraction time at the top, contraction time of the muscles relates directly to how quickly you're able to get your stroke rate up. So the more you can get stroke rate up, the more you know you're going to be in a fast twitch muscle fiber zone. And conversely, when you are specifically trying to train the slow twitch muscle fibers, you can actually assign a slower stroke rate. Okay, so you guys might remember from high school physics that velocity is equal to power. I'm not going to give you the equations now, it's just before lunch. But velocity is equal to power, and to increase velocity, so the rate at which you're moving, we need to increase power. Okay. Now there are ways in the sport of swimming that we can have an effect on power. Okay. And that's through things like stroke count specifically. So we said right up early in the beginning of the presentation that if we're focusing on stroke count getting lower, conversely, if we're going to get stronger, we're going to have a lower stroke count. Okay, so that's where the thing falls into power. Power is also dependent on rate, like we said.